Hi guys. So for my project, I'm gonna be covering the Stonewall riots of 1969, and then like the subsequent cultural impacts of that movement, as well as analyzing it and tying it back to the theory that we learned in class. Before I get into the actual events of the Stonewall riots, I just wanted to give a little bit of background um, of like what life was like for gay people and trans people or just gender nonconforming people in the U.S. in the decades preceding to the riots, to give a little background on um, basically how events culminated into a resulting riot to assert like gay rights and um, just to show like the nation on like a national level that this is something that um, gay people were willing to fight for, and they were tired of not having their voices heard. So basically, in the decades leading up to the Stonewall riots, being gay was extremely difficult for anyone living in the United States. You could be criminally persecuted, you could be arrested, you could be involuntarily committed to mental institutions. Often, if it came out that you were gay, your family would shun you and ostracize you and not want to have anything to do with you. You could lose employment opportunities. There became a point in time where it was illegal for you to work for certain um, government offices. If it came out that you were gay, you would be fired. Just things of that nature. So it was very difficult to be out and gay at this time. So what often happened was gay people conformed to what like society expected of everyone at that time. You know, the heterosexual model of you get married, you have kids, you live in a house with a white picket fence, you have a dog, that kind of thing. So a lot of them felt like they had to do that just so they could survive and, not face homelessness or unemployment or just poverty in general. So, it was really difficult at that time. Like I said, gay people were considered mentally ill. Homosexuality was considered like a mental illness. Um, so it was very difficult. And but even then, for decades before, like the Stonewall riots, there were hubs and cities around the country where gay people kind of congregated. It started about the 1920s with the economic boom that happened during that time. So you had people gathering in places like San Francisco or like New Orleans French Quarter or New York's Harlem and Greenwich Village. And Harlem is a place that a lot of like creatives, especially black creatives, like that were gay or gender nonconforming, could go and they could really, um, like it was like a hub for creativity. So a lot of works and like artists and authors produced a lot of great work during that time, like Langston Hughes and Tennessee Williams, for example. So, um, like I said, during this time, um, it was still very hard for gay people to be out and proud in public without fear of persecution or being the victim of a hate crime and things like that. Um, but yeah, even going into the 60s, they were faced with systemic and state sponsored persecution. Um, so it was still very difficult, but a lot of gay rights groups at the time started to model what they wanted their activism to look like based off of the work of like the Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement, and then basing off of a lot of like the anti-war protests going on and then like hippie movement. So a lot of that fueled, um, you know, kind of like it kind of just fueled like everyone being fed up with being treated the way they were being treated, um, and kind of just culminated into this kind of rioting, like explosive, response to like police persecution and things like that. So that's basically like a general overview of life beforehand, just so you can get, an idea of how hard it was to, be a gay person in America or even around the world.